everyone, it's Old Guardian here. A new fusion event started in Raid Shadow Legends today for Kassandra, the first champion from the new Argonites faction. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this fusion event and whether Kassandra is worth pursuing. First, thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video and for giving me this wonderful promo link down below in the description there in the QR code. A new account with Tholin Foulbeard, Rector Drath, Venomage and Uugo, specially designed for this Assassin's Creed collaboration. And then Kassandra Fusion. Kassandra Fusion started today, January 8th. It's going to run until January 24th. And Kassandra Fusion is a hybrid fusion. And what a hybrid fusion means is that you will complete various events that will give you fragments. Whenever you have 100 fragments, you can turn those into one epic champion. You will need to get 4 of those epic champions, and then you need to promote them and ascend them. So you need to get those epics to level 50 fully ascended, and then you can fuse those epics into Kassandra. And all of this must be done during the fusion event period. You cannot hold the Kassandra fusion for later, so that would synergize with something else. You have to complete it latest on January 24th. There are over 450 fragments available, and you need 400 of those. But unless you get the bonus fragments from the Summon Rush event near the end, which gives you up to 50 fragments, every other event is 25, then you need to complete every other event. The epic looks like an okay healer, so you want to pick up one of those fusion epics even if you skip the fusion itself, but it's nothing super special. Also note that all other events scale based on your account level except for Summon Rush and Champion Chase. So for new accounts, typically you will have a pretty decent time going through everything else. And then if you don't have the shards, or if you don't have shards or other things for Champion Chase, shards for Summon Rush, then those are going to be where you fail and then you won't be able to complete the fusion. So make sure you have enough resources for those. And because this is a hybrid fusion, so you have 4 epic champions that you first need to level up to 40, then rank them up to 5 stars and then level them up to 50 and then ascend them fully. That means that you're going to need 16 4-star food, so that you will be able to rank them all up to 5 stars. And then you need a bunch of potions for the ascending. That's 60 greater arcane potions, 12 superior arcane potions, 80 greater magic potions and 24 superior magic potions. Arcane potions are available from Arcane Keep whenever, but Magic Keep's only open on Wednesdays and on Saturdays, so January 10th, 14th, 17th, 21st and 24th, 5 days during this fusion period. Then let's take a detailed look at the event calendar. The event calendar starts with Dragon Tournament and Gear Hunters 1 starting on day 1, January 8th. At the same time, that's good because you want to do a dungeon tournament together with Gear Hunters. Gear Hunters typically requires 2.5 dungeon tournaments to complete. So if you do 2 dungeon tournaments during Gear Hunters, that's 80% of the way. But here Gear Hunters 1 only overlaps Dragon. So that only gets you to 40% of the way through Gear Hunters, and then you still need to do more. So you can do something with champion training, so you can champion train either in dungeons or you can champion train just in like Brutal 12.3 or 12.6, and that can get you some progress in it, although that progress is much weaker. If you're really low on energy, Event Dungeon opened today, and doing Event Dungeon Stage 3 is actually the most energy efficient way to complete Gear Hunters, formerly called Dungeon Divers. So if you're really short on energy, then you can use that Event Dungeon Stage 3 as the last resort. The champion training starts tomorrow, Friday, January 9th. That can be good also for preparing food for the fusions, because you need 16 4-star food, so that you'll be able to rank up Galapo 4 times. The Champion Chase tournament is the only tournament where it's useful to summon champions from other sources than shards, and it's very early in this fusion event. So you may be able to summon 1 epic for this, and that will get you some points. But other than that, you're down to whatever stuff that you have otherwise that you can summon or fuse together, or then just use shards. Ancient shards in particular are pretty good for Champion Chase. As usual, there are 3 gear enhancement events during this fusion event, and depending on your account level, you will either need 3000 points or 4775 points to get the fragments. At least typically that's what you need. So we're talking about 12 to 14 million for low level accounts, and then 20 to 22 million for higher level accounts for each gear enhancement event. That doesn't mean that you have to have all of that silver already, because you are actually going to earn quite a bit of silver during this event. So if you start with something like 20 million today, then you probably will have enough silver to complete these 3 events. Also, as usual, there will be 2 classic arena tournaments. Those are easy ways to pick up some fragments. Basically, they just require you to log into the game a couple of times a day, refresh your arena, take the fights that you think you can win, and that will get it done. Then the most important event timing-wise, from Tuesday, January 13th until Friday, January 16th, Gear Hunters Event 2. Because when the Gear Hunters Event 2 begins, Ice Golem tournament is still on. So you don't want to do that Ice Golem, it doesn't overlap Gear Hunters 1, you don't want to do that Ice Golem until Gear Hunters 2 starts. So Tuesday is basically Ice Golem day for that Gear Hunters. And then you want to do the Spider at the end, Thursday, Spider. So you will be able to do 2 dungeon tournaments for these Gear Hunters, getting you 80% of the way. And the rest you can either do in these dungeons, other dungeons, or just farming food, whatever you like. Whereas the third Gear Hunters only overlaps 1 dungeon tournament, and that's the Fire Knight tournament. It starts 1 day later than the Gear Hunters. But you have 60% of that Gear Hunters to go somewhere else. And if energy is really tight, then even Dungeon Stage 3 is your final savior. The Fusion event also encompasses 2 separate Summon Rush events. That's actually not very typical. Typically you would have those extra fragments as like an extra goal in a Summon Rush or something. But this time shards are going to be pretty easy to spend because we have Champion Chase and then we have 2 Summon Rush events. You can skip 1 Summon Rush event entirely. So that's always possible if you get fragments from the other, but you won't know exactly the point thresholds that you will have for fragments in these events until they are actually there. So it's going to be pretty difficult to evaluate. Like potentially the Summon Rush event with 50 fragments, if you get it with the usual like 12 sacreds for that or 7 sacreds for just 1 set, then doing that could be attractive. But if you have already done 1 for 7 sacreds and then you would need to spend another 7 to get even any fragments, then that's a worse value proposition. So it's kind of hard to evaluate what is going to be the best way to proceed. But that Summon Rush event right at the very end, if you have shards, then that can serve as a backup. If you fail to complete any of the other events, then you have that 1 more chance there. And there is also a champion training tournament near the end, and this champion training tournament can be used to get Galapo the Recluse to level 40, to rank 5 to level 50, so you'll be able to get a bunch of points for champion training tournament from doing that. So what to do with Kassandra? If you go for the fusion, you need to do almost everything. The only way to skip anything is to get fragments from the second Summon Rush. So that's important to keep in mind. If you don't do the fusion, then the epic might be useful. It's like seems like an okay healer. It just doesn't bring a whole lot of other stuff to the table. So depending on what your Lizardman collection looks like, that can still be potentially useful healer if you don't have many already, although the faction does have a lot of support characters. Kassandra herself looks like the strongest of the assassins right now based on some limited test server footage that we have seen. Kassandra deals a lot of single target damage. Should be a good option for many boss fights, also has the potential to bring that all battle speed aura, so Kassandra probably the best assassin. That's the early estimate anyway. So even if you're not going to go for all the assassins, then Kassandra for that single target damage to have a champion that can really bring some pain to bosses can be a pretty good idea to grab. Assassins have some synergies as well. They're not as powerful as the turtles. The synergies is more PvP focus at first glance because it's basically a soul reap type effect as a team skill. So enemy goes low on HP and then boom, 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 takes extra damage. But we haven't really seen that fully in action yet, so we don't know exactly how good that's going to be. But because Kassandra looks like the strongest assassin, based on the early materials, then it makes sense to pursue Kassandra anyway, and then that gives us a little bit more time to figure out whether the assassin synergies are good enough to pursue them all. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.